Hello everyone, welcome to Believers IAS Academy, Bengaluru. This is the topic of the day session, and today's topic will be discussing Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. We will see why it is in use and what is RCEP and what is its relationship with India. So the recent news was that the Niti Aayog CEO said that India should consider joining the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership and the Comprehensive Program Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. Okay, these are two important global groupings. NC, like Niti Aayog CEO said that there are positives for India in joining this one, and there are more opportunities and potential for India if India joins these groupings. So in this discussion, we will see what is RCEP, that is Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, and we will see the members and what are its roles and what is its relation with India, what are the implications for India if it joins it. Okay, so RCEP, it is a significant economic agreement between ASEAN members and the free trade partners. Okay, ASEAN and its free trade partners. It is an agreement between ASEAN and its free trade partners. It is the world's largest trading bloc. This is very important. World's largest trading bloc. It is designed to promote economic integration, trade liberalization, and cooperation among the member nations. Okay, so negotiations began in 2012 and it was officially signed in November 2020, making a major milestone in regional trade. It was entered into force by January 1, 2022. So it is a very recent phenomenon, but the idea was started in 2012, a decade back, and after that it took almost 10 years to come into fruition, and it was launched in January 2022. So who are the member nations? Okay, member nations are total 15 members. In 15 members, ASEAN constitutes 10 members plus 5 neighboring countries. Those 5 neighboring countries are Australia, China, South Korea, Japan, and New Zealand. And who are the ASEAN members? ASEAN members, will give you a technique to remember the ASEAN members' name. Okay, there is a shortcut or acronym for remembering ASEAN members. That is MBBS Clip TV. Okay, what is M? M is Malaysia. What is B? One B is Burma or Myanmar, and another B is Brunei, and S is Singapore, and C is Cambodia, L is Laos, I is Indonesia. This is the largest member of ASEAN bloc, and P is Philippines, and T is Thailand, and V finally is Vietnam. If you want to remember the members of ASEAN members or ASEAN countries, this is how you remember it. MBBS Clip TV. Okay, MBBS Clip TV plus the 5 neighboring countries or 5 trading partners, that is China, Japan, and South Korea. These are the Asian counterparts, and Australia and its neighboring country New Zealand. All these members constitute the group RCEP. Okay, so this is RCEP, and now we will understand the significance of RCEP and what are its objectives. And the RCEP negotiation includes the areas, meaning the areas covered under RCEP are trade in goods, trade in services, investment, economic and technical cooperation, intellectual property competition, dispute settlement, e-commerce, small and medium enterprises, and other issues. So this is a holistical coverage. The agreement not only involves trading goods but also includes all the issues that come along with the economic trade. And then objectives are, obviously, since it is an economic integration, economic grouping, it focuses on facilitating the trade and investment among the member nations so that there is equal benefit for all the members. And reduce or eliminate tariffs and non-tariff barriers to trade. Okay, what are tariff and non-tariff barriers? These are the taxes or tariffs put by the host country or a country for exports and imports, so that it aligns with their policies, trade policies. Enhance economic cooperation and regional supply chains. These are the objectives of RCEP. Excuse me. And in the benefits of RCEP, whatever the objectives are there, it will be able to achieve those objectives. First is, it will obviously promote the growth, economic growth as well as regional stability, and streamlines trade procedure and regulations, encourages foreign investment in the member countries, and it enhances competitiveness and innovation. These are some of the benefits out of RCEP. So its significance is, it is, as we said, it is the largest trading bloc in the world, and it represents over 30% of the global GDP, and out of 30%, around 25% is dominated by China only, and trading bloc covers around 1/3 of the population, that is again dominated by China, and then it has a potential to significantly impact global trade, because if China is included, obviously it will have the potential to impact global trade. And RCEP's role in global trade is such that it will strengthen the influence of Asia Pacific region or Asia Pacific region and in international trade. Initially, the world trade was covered around Europe and America, but with the growth of Southeast Asian countries and China, now it is moving towards the Trans-Pacific region. And then the agreement can serve as a model for future trade deals and regional cooperation. If this works fine, if this works properly, then many other countries or many other groupings can follow this grouping and follow this model. And then, what is the relationship between India and RCEP? This becomes very important. Initially, India was a founding member of RCEP. It was a founding member of RCEP. In 2019, India decided to withdraw from RCEP negotiation. Why did it decide to withdraw from negotiations? The decision for RCEP, the exit to RCEP, was based on the concerns about impact on its domestic economy. India's domestic economy was vulnerable to the various issues, such as primary concerns include fear of an influx of Chinese goods into the Indian market, affecting the local industry. Okay, RCEP is a free trade agreement, and one of RCEP's aim is to reduce the tariff. If you reduce the tariff, then it will allow China, South Korea, and other Southeast Asian strong countries to send their goods, okay, to dump their goods into Indian market. Okay, it is going to destroy the domestic economy of India, domestic producers, because the manufacturing industries of these countries is already developed, and they are able to produce the goods at a lower price, okay, at a lower cost. And if there is no tariff, and if they are allowed to be sold in India, they will become more consumer friendly, or they will become more cheaper compared to Indian goods. So obviously, as a consumer, we tend to buy goods which are more cheaper. So as a result, this is going to impact the Indian goods. So the purpose of tariff was to, if a Chinese good is present at 90 rupees, and if there is an Indian good which is present at 110 rupees, they would increase tariff on China for 20 rupees. That is, it should be at least equal to Indian goods, so that there is fair competition between Indian and Chinese goods, so that it will not impact Indian domestic industry adversely. And issues related to mobility in services and reservations from the agricultural sector and small businesses were contributing factor. Okay, especially in agriculture sector, where India is a majorly dominated by agriculture sector in employment. Okay, agri employment. If we allow the goods, agriculture goods from other country at a cheaper rate, it is going to adversely impact Indian goods. And within agriculture, there are apprehensions about dairy industry. Okay, in Indian dairy industry, it is not highly mechanized. It is still in the form of traditional. Okay, it is still in the form of traditional way, and as a result, the cost of milk and milk products, such as ghee, cheese, etc., is very high. But this dairy industry is advanced and very developed in Australia and New Zealand. They have a very high quality bovines. High quality bovine meaning buffalo, cows. They are very high qualities, and the industry is also highly mechanized. So they are able to produce milk and cheese, etc., at a lower cost. If you allow these goods to send in, like, be sold in India at a lower price, if you allow these goods to be sold in India at a lesser or competitive price compared to Indian goods, obviously it is going to affect Indian goods, Indian dairy sector. So these are certain issues why India decided not to join it. And now, if it was the initial reason for India to not join, why is India still hesitant to join it? Okay, there are certain reasons for India still hesitant to join this one. That is, recently World Bank suggested that India should join the RCEP. It said that if India joins RCEP, there will be income gain of around US dollar 60 billion. $60 billion will be income gain for India. But the catch here is, of the 60 million income, most of the gains would come from increased imports leading to trade imbalances. What is the use of increased imports? And if you are not able to export more, okay, again this is going to impact our domestic industry, and this is going to create a dependence on foreigners. Okay, so it is going to create dependence on the other countries, and it is not in line with our Indian policy, the policy of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Okay, so whatever the concerns of India have been proven right, and other issues such as what was India's initial apprehension that will result in trade imbalances with result to China. So the recent trade deficits among the ASEAN members and Japan and Korea prove that point. For example, among RCEP members, since the RCEP became operational, ASEAN's trade deficit with China grew from $81.7 billion to $135.6 billion. Okay, what were the fears or concerns of India? That it will result in dumping of Chinese goods into Indian market. What is happening now? The same thing what India believed would happen. So ASEAN have almost 40 billion extra has been resulted in the trade imbalance with China. And for Japan also, trade deficit increased from US dollar 22.5 billion in 2022 to 40 billion, almost doubled. Okay, trade balance almost doubled. With South Korea in 2024 or 2023, South Korea for the first time had a trade imbalance with China. So whatever the concerns India had, they are being proven right. And then over dependence on China and China-centric supply chains. The rising trade deficits of RCEP members highlights that growing dependence on China-centric supply chains. And similarly, Japan's trade deficit with China increased from this percent. So that is why these are all the issues that highlight the dependence on China more. The dependency is like if they are more dependent on China, it presents many risks. Okay, for example, during COVID-19 pandemic, many of the countries were dependent on China. For what? For the raw materials for producing pharmaceutical. Okay, for raw material for producing medicinal drugs. The raw materials called as API. The API was mostly imported from China. During the pandemic, what happened is China put an export ban on raw materials of that is API. Okay, it put ban on APIs. As a result, most of the countries which were dependent on China were adversely impacted, including India. India is one of the largest manufacturer of pharmaceuticals. Even India was also adversely benefited. So if you are going to depend on China again, in case there is a supply chain shocks in the coming years, so what the China is going to do? It is obviously going to put export ban on its industries, and as a result, the people who are dependent on China are going to impact adversely. So these are the apprehensions for India, and that is why still India is not joining. And other issues, there is unfair competition. By not joining RCEP, India maintained the flexibility to explore other trade agreements that do not disproportionately favor China or threaten its interest. Okay, if you are joining RCEP, Even though you don't have proper relations with China, you are going to provide them free trade agreement. Okay, instead of joining RCEP, you now have the flexibility. You can have the free trade agreement with ASEAN countries, or you can have the free trade agreement with all the countries excluding China. All the countries in RCEP excluding China. It provides a flexibility, and India maintains a sovereignty in making these decisions. And dependency presents significant risk, especially in the context of global supply chain disruptions such as the experience of global pandemic. India's trade deficit China rose to US $85 billion in 2023-24. So, alternative trade agreements. India already has a free trade agreement with other Asian countries, 13 out of 15 members of RCEP. So, except New Zealand and China, India already has a free trade agreement with all the members of RCEP. So, then what is the need of joining RCEP again? Okay, it is only going to benefit the other countries and less to the Indian countries, because most of the members of RCEP have a developed manufacturing hub, have a developed agricultural sector. If you are going to open the markets for Indian markets for these goods, it is going to adversely impact Indian goods. Okay, and then China plus one strategy. Most of the world is moving towards China plus one strategy. What is China plus one strategy? Instead of depending on China completely, instead of relying on China during the crisis time, instead of depending on China, we should look for other opportunities. Okay, the most of the countries or most of the global countries are going towards this China plus one strategy. India can be that plus one. Okay, India can be that plus one, and it is exploring the opportunities. That is why India is still hesitant of joining this RCEP. So now Niti Aayog CEO said that India should join RCEP because according to him, these are the opportunities provided by RCEP. Okay, that is, it will result in enhanced trade opportunities. Joining RCEP and CPTPP, that is Comprehensive and Progressive Trade Agreement. It is a trade agreement with South American and Latin American countries. Okay, Latin American countries. This is the trade agreement between South American and Latin American countries, which includes Canada, Chile, Mexico, Peru, and other countries. Okay, so it will provide in the access to larger markets, particularly in Asia Pacific regions. Primary concerns include the fear of influx of Chinese goods, and it has been proven right. And then they also say that these agreements encompasses wide range of services potential increasing from India's exports. Okay, they have the potential to increasing India's exports, especially from micro, small, and medium enterprises, which account for 40% of exports. So they are saying that if you join RCEP, there are opportunities for MSME sector. Okay, you are only looking at the negative sides of RCEP, but there is positivity, and you can trust the MSME sector to come through. Okay, we should not underestimate the manufacturing sector of India. We should not underestimate the agriculture sector of India. They have the capacity, especially the MSMEs which are involved in manufacturing and agriculture. They have the capacity to leverage the benefits of RCEP. And then this will result in integration into global supply chains, which allows India to benefit from the China plus one strategy, and that many countries are adopting to diversify their supply sources away from China. And this China plus one can be India. Most of the countries are moving out of China. India, by joining these RCEP and CTPPT, can provide an alternative to China, and it can be that plus one. This will enhance India's manufacturing sector and attract foreign investment. Okay, in RCEP, along with the trade, intellectual property, and other things are also considered. So it can also result in technology transfer between important countries, which will result in kind of competition. Okay, before 1991, India had a closed economy. As a result, most of the industries and other things lacked competition. Okay, they lacked competition and they become static, which resulted in reduction in GDP, reduction in efficiency, etc., etc. Once the foreign companies were introduced in India, even Indian companies started competing with the foreign companies. As a result, it resulted in growth of GDP, and it resulted in economic growth. Okay, many Indian companies also adopted future standards. Similarly, if you allow Indian companies to compete with the RCEP members, it will kind of foster competition. It will kind of improve Indian goods also. So you should look at the positive side. And then there is regulatory element. That is, being part of these agreements would necessitate aligning India's regulatory framework with the international standards. Okay, you can now being the members of RCEP, being the members of CTPPT, India can align the regulatory authorities or regulatory framework with the international standards. Okay, it can also improve the quality, it can also improve the efficiency, it can also improve the productivity of Indian industries also, which could improve the business environment and attract more FDI. Okay, most of the Southeast Asian countries and China attract more FDI because of their strict regulatory, because of their regulatory alignments. Okay, that regulatory is aligned to the international standards. Being the member of RCEP, India can also align the regulatory standards at the international level, which will attract more foreign direct investment, because more foreign investors would think India is suitable because it has the international standards and there are protections for international investment also. So this is for today's discussion. We discussed about RCEP members and why India initially decided not to join it, but why India should reconsider joining it, because India in 2019 and India right now are two different countries. India right now has a more opportunities for leveraging the benefits out of RCEP, so India should consider RCEP. And similar to 1991, India by joining the membership of RCEP can usher in new level of industrialization, new level of competition. Okay, initially there would be there will be criticism, there would be protest from the agricultural and farmer communities and other industries, but in the long term it is going to benefit India. That is what the article, that is what Vinayak Y U was telling. So this is about today's discussion. If you gained anything out of the video, if you like the video, please like it, comment on it and share with your friends, and also subscribe to the channel, click on the bell icon so that you don't miss a notification. With this, we'll end today's video. Jai Hind, Jai Karnataka.